Welcome into the last Bills pregame take two of the regular season. Week 18, the Bills visit Foxborough to take on the Patriots. He's Vic Carucci. I'm Jonathan Acosta as we take a look at the Bills' final game of the regular season. And Vic, even though it's Week 18, this one certainly has more of a maybe preseason type of feel with how much we anticipate seeing Josh Allen and the starters in this game.
It does, and it should. This is really the Bills' only opportunity to have something resembling a bye before the postseason. And, you know, the only team that gets that in the AFC, of course, is the Kansas City Chiefs as the number 1 seed. But as the number 2 seed, yes, there's the prize of the 2 home games. And in the case of the Bills, by having a 13-win season, by taking care of business against the Jets, they position themselves to play a meaningless final game, which of course created the option for the head coach and for the players to manage playing time and keep the starting appearances to a minimum.
And it's something interesting that Sean McDermott is going to navigate because, for example, you have Josh Allen, who is going to make the start to keep his start streak alive, but he's not going to play very long. But then you have guys with incentives who want to reach those types of incentives. And then you have guys coming back from injury like Demar Hamlin, Taylor Rapp, Cam Lewis. Sean McDermott said Friday, all of them expected to play Sunday. And in the case of Hamlin specifically, they might be looking at getting him an extended run just to get him some reps alongside Taylor Rapp so that he's not as rusty maybe come playoff time next week, as opposed to giving him another week off and then letting him try to come back for the playoffs. Just how do you evaluate that decision-making, and what do you think kind of is the thinking process for the Bills along those lines?
It's a delicate balance, for sure, for Sean McDermott, for Brandon Beane, because this involves multiple people in this discussion, including Terry Pegula as well. It's the idea that you don't want players to feel that they've been cheated out of bonuses that come from that ability to play a full season, right? And the stats that tie into the makeable numbers, that for players that aren't the quote superstars, the ability to get extra money becomes that much more important. Now, in terms of Demar Hamlin, I fully see the logic in wanting to make sure he gets some meaningful run heading into the postseason, where everything does get ramped up, where every opponent is going to come at them a lot harder and I think more effectively than what they saw in their, well, what they'll see, I should say, in the better part of their last 3 games, and that includes the second New England game. It's a matter of just feeling comfortable, but how far do you go to where you don't re-injure or get the player in a position where now his availability for you in the playoffs isn't there? And that, again, is the juggling act, but it is important that it's at least addressed, because the long-time story about sitting players in a final regular season game when you have things wrapped up, in the case of like the Chiefs that have everything wrapped up, or go back to, you know, other Bills seasons when they've had everything clinched and that game literally meant nothing and you could keep pretty much everybody out of the lineup. The possible downside to that is a loss of momentum overall for the team, and then for individual players just not being in any sort of rhythm when they have to be at their best in the postseason.
It's something fascinating to watch, even around the league, how coaches kind of handled this last week when everything's wrapped up. Because, for example, you have it with the Eagles, where Saquon Barkley can go after Eric Dickerson's rushing record, and they're going to sit him, not have him go for the record so that he's healthy for the postseason. So it's something fascinating to see how different teams around the league sort of handle this. I think more so this week than even really dissecting this Bills-Patriots game, one where the Patriots not even probably trying to win all that much because a loss gets them the number 1 overall pick, and the Bills really nothing to play for other than getting some other guys reps. More so than maybe dissecting this matchup, the biggest talking point this week, Pro Bowl nominations and thereby also Pro Bowl snubs. Josh Allen and Deion Dawkins, the only 2 Bills selected as starters for the Pro Bowl. When you see that, Vic, what do you make of that? And then who are maybe 1 or 2 guys you think have very legitimate cases to say that they were snubbed this season?
I'm not entirely surprised that it was a very short list of Pro Bowl selections, keeping in mind, too, that the Pro Bowl voting still skews toward a popularity kind of contest. Now, the Bills have great support. They have as good of fan support as anybody, and fans are part of this voting process. So on that count, you could say, well, hey, should the fans have been more aggressive for the Bills fans or show up in stronger numbers? But let's put that aside. To me, it says, okay, by far the best player on the team and arguably the best player in the league is Josh Allen. And then, to get another player in the mix, picking Deion Dawkins feels like another recognizable, popular, well-liked guy, in addition to a guy who has earned his way to prominence as an offensive lineman. Is he the best offensive tackle or one of the best in the AFC? He's good. He's really good. I don't know that he's had that kind of season, but the line as a whole did. The line as a whole had one of its best years. And after Josh Allen, that's the strength of this football team. So having a representative from that line, and he was probably as good a representative as you could pick, Deion Dawkins, so that part of it makes sense. Now, as far as snubs go, from the offensive side, certainly James Cook would have some cause to feel left out, and maybe that he was overlooked and wronged by the voting. But I don't know how strong a case that is. A guy that I had felt for most of the year was underappreciated as a slot receiver is Khalil Shakir. Giving some love to him, but wide receiver, an extremely competitive area. And for a slot guy to kind of elevate from that, tough to do, especially when he hasn't had the pedigree of Pro Bowl or All-Pro selection. But an extremely good year for him, the most consistent, effective pass catcher the Bills have, for sure, Shakir. On the defensive side, Christian Benford. And I've had multiple scouts from other NFL teams who evaluate the Bills for the sake of, their team, future, upcoming games, tell me that one of them told me that Benford was the best defensive player the Bills have, the best, put him head and shoulders above everybody else. That's quite a compliment. And this is a veteran, credible scout who said that to me. I would say that he has been the most consistent force for sure at the corner position, that he in many ways either amounts to a shutdown kind of guy that teams try to avoid, or if they want to challenge him, they do so at their own risk. But he does a very good job technically, intelligence, instincts, you name it, he's got it. Football intelligence, of course. And then yet another player who I know got recognition as an All-Pro, Taron Johnson. You don't lose sight of him, because as nickel backs go, as nickel defensive backs go, I don't know that there's a better one. So can the argument be made that he gets overlooked? Again, the categories a little, maybe not quite as defined on the Pro Bowl, I don't believe, as they are for the All-Pro. I know as an All-Pro voter, that nickel back spot is a defined spot. And Taron Johnson has my vote for that, has had it, and will continue to have it.
It's interesting on the point with Benford, because he wasn't even named as an alternate, and you would figure that he's going to receive some All-Pro votes. So it's interesting to see kind of the dynamic between those two sort of recognitions. And then with James Cook, he certainly took notice of his snub, even sending out a tweet, kind of making note that he sort of saw he was not named a starter. And Sean McDermott earlier this season said he likes it when his running backs run angry. You wonder if that's just an extra chip on the shoulder for when he gets going come playoff time. And speaking of the playoffs, that brings us to sort of our final question and final topic. As we go into this weekend, we're recording before the games are played. But as of right now, if the Broncos are able to beat Carson Wentz and the Chiefs' backups, they will be the ones coming to Orchard Park on Wild Card Weekend. As we take sort of maybe a preliminary look at that game, what do you kind of see in that matchup between the Bills and a potential 7-seeded Broncos coming to Western New York?
I think, first of all, every playoff matchup just potentially, to me, will be a challenge. I don't know that there's a gimme game that you face in the postseason. Everybody does ramp up, and I don't see anybody really stumbling into this. Now, as a first round or wild card round draw for the Bills, probably the best scenario is getting this Bronco team in terms of it's starting with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix, who has played quite well as a rookie quarterback, as well as most of the rookie quarterbacks this side of Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. But you think about a rookie quarterback stepping into Orchard Park in the postseason. A very, very tough scenario for him. I'm not going to say he'll cower under that. He's been, for the course, you're at this point, he's really not a rookie anymore. And through the course of the season, he has stepped into those unfriendly environments. But it still ramps up in the postseason. When you start with Bo Nix as the other team's quarterback, rookie, versus Josh Allen, veteran and very strong MVP candidate on the other side, right there, I think the edge is extremely defined. But another thing that the Broncos have going for them, and I think could be the one possible area that gives them a tipping point, is their defense. Their defense is good. Their defense can get pressure on Josh Allen. I think their defense can discourage the run a bit and plays pretty sound. And then one more area I would put, because you can never overlook this in matchups of any kind, but especially in the postseason, is the coaching matchup. Sean Payton is a very good coach, one of the best in the league. He'll be a Hall of Fame type of coach in it whenever his time comes that he steps away from it. And I think he's still got many years ahead of him, but he's proven it. And he's a Super Bowl winner. He's learned and worked with the very best. Bill Parcells, he comes from that lineage. He'll come in extremely prepared with his team. And again, I think if that is the matchup, if it is the Broncos, on the one hand, I think it's something that the Bills would win and be favorable. They're going to be favored, but I mean, they'd find it as a favorable match, A, but B, don't know if it'll be any sort of cakewalk.
If the Broncos do stumble against the Chiefs, that opens the door for the Bengals and the Dolphins to possibly get into the playoffs and be that 7th seed to take on the Bills next week. But before we get to next week, one final game of the regular season to take care of. Bills at Patriots, 1 p.m. in Foxborough. For Vic Carucci, I'm Jonathan Acosta. We'll see you all next week.